Hi everyone, we're back with another science experiment for you this week called tension suspension. Now today we're going to be making one of these cool little toys that seems to defy gravity using the force of tension. Now, hope you all enjoy it.
Here's what you're going to need. A large round container, which will decide how large your project is. A spool of string. I just used some kite string for this one. You'll need a ruler, and don't worry, a regular sized ruler will be better suited than this one. You'll need some scissors to cut the string, some tape to hold things in place, a small rubber band which will provide the main force, a coil of thick wire. I used 18 gauge plastic coated steel wire, but I'd recommend something a little thicker that can hold its shape better. And you'll need some wire cutters or regular pliers that can cut the thick wire. Now to get started, you're going to use the round container and the metal wire. Wrap the wire around the container so that you have one full loop and then at least an extra half of that sticking out. Use the wire cutters to cut your loop free. Now you're going to use the tape to hold the main loop of wire together. It'll be a little tricky, but you should be able to get a loop that fits tightly over the container with the tape holding the loop together. Now, do it again. Your two loops should be close to the same size, but if they're a little off, like mine are, don't worry about it. Next, what you're going to do for both of them is bend that loose strand of wire up and slightly into the loop. Now, about halfway up those strands, you're going to bend them so that they are flat and parallel with the loop. Now hold them like so and measure the distance between the loops. Be sure to leave at least half an inch of space between the bends, since this is where the major tension will be. For this one, it's about 6 inches. Next, you're going to cut 3 lengths of string that are each long enough to go from one end of the structure to the other. I estimated about double the original length, just so that I would have enough extra string to tie the knots easily. Arrange the strings around one loop so that they're all roughly equal distances apart. Think of it like a pie with 3 equal slices. For a circle, this means each angle will have a 120-degree bend. After you've tied each string to the loop, use some tape to keep each loop in place, because they'll slide around otherwise and unbalance your structure. Now this is where things get a little difficult. Take your other loop, hold it above your finished half, and wrap the loose ends of the string over it. You're going to want to make sure that you leave a good amount of distance between the two wire ends, with the bottom strand going over the top strand by at least half an inch, maybe more. Now try and tie a knot where each string loops over. These should also be held in place as directly opposite the bottom loop as possible. Keep the string as taut as possible when you tie the knot, while keeping the structure in the shape you want. If the final project isn't perfectly symmetrical and even, don't worry too much. As long as the strings are tight when you push these two strands together, you're doing great. Now it's time to tie it all together. Wrap the rubber band around the 2 middle strands, being careful not to bend them too much. Your final result will probably involve 3 or 4 loops to make the rubber band tight enough to keep the strands close together. And there you go. It's done. You did it. If you turn it on its side, does it stay together? What about if you pick it up and move it around? Why doesn't it fall apart? Let's find out why. Here is our structure without any strings or rubber bands. If you let go of the top loop, it will fall down because gravity is the only force pulling on it. If we add a rubber band to the middle, the rubber band will pull the 2 strands together, creating a force that pulls up and down at the same time. But unless it's perfectly balanced, the top loop will turn and fall down, though the rubber band may keep the 2 strands together. If we add strings to the loop, however, something interesting happens. The rubber band is trying to pull the 2 center strands together. This pushes the outer loops farther apart. If the outer loops are pushed farther apart, this pulls the strings taut because they can only extend a certain length. This means that as long as the rubber band's force is maintained equally throughout the structure, the strings will stay tight, even with the relatively weak force of gravity pulling down. We hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe for more videos from Dan, Liza, and Amelia.